When I used to be the other kind of Christian, meaning that, Wayne, like, what other kind? You're like, what? I used to go to the churches where the preacher got up and just preached and told you about the scriptures, and he never dealt with the congregation, so you never knew what was going on. He never knew what was going on with his congregation, so he was never able to help them, because I realize now that the reason they do it that way because they don't know what they're talking about. But I would go to that church, and so everybody would learn the Bible and learn the scriptures and just quote the Bible. You can't even have a regular conversation. Like, you can say, well, what are you going to do today after church? Well, praise the Lord. 1 John chapter 2 said, don't overdo it. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do? They lost that sense of communication. And then after the preacher would get up and preach, and whenever there were like new visitors there for the first time, when the preacher's done preaching and the church's service is over, then the congregation pounces on the new people. You know, and it would just really drive people away and make them mad and make them angry, right? And 99.999.9, not all the time, but 99.999% of the time, the congregation didn't know what they were talking about. But they would attack the first-time visitors as though they knew what they were talking about. And it's the darndest thing I ever seen. And I found out recently that happens here at this church. When we get new people in, and especially if they open up in the service, after the service, members of this congregation attack the new people. They don't just go over and greet them and say, thank you for coming, welcome to the church, right? They're going to correct them and talk all that dumb stuff to them and really just make the person feel even worse. And 99.999% of the time, they don't know what they're talking about. Because if they did, they wouldn't do it. After the church service, you just say, welcome, thank you for coming. My name is Sue Ella or Joe Black, and good to meet you. But instead, they have to preach to them some more. Anybody ever done that in this church? It's the darndest thing I ever seen. And they don't realize that people see your spirit. They know that you don't know what you're talking about. They know you're coming from the wrong place. But because they're new at it, they're going to hate you for it, and most of the time they don't come back. And then they end up blaming me for it, and I don't even know that the congregation has acted so foolishly. And that has to end. And that shows that you have no love, no sense, no nothing. Because normal sense people don't do that kind of stuff. And it's just insane. And then I get blamed for everything. Poor me. But I'm okay with it. I'm the little head of the church, so I guess I have to be blamed for the silliness of the congregation. But I want to, because it doesn't just happen here, it happens in the church, really. Especially if they're into it and they think they know what they're talking about. But somehow or another, you have to have sense enough to look at your own life and know what you're saying to other people is all ego. You're just trying to make yourself look good and feel good about being wrong. And it's dumb. We are a spirit, and we communicate with each other spirit to spirit. People pick up on your spirit like your children do. You could be saying the right thing, but your spirit is wrong. Folks know that. They know it. They really just know it. Because your spirit is dry and still evil with no love. But you have all the right words to say. Sometimes just shut up. If we have had a good church service, the person or people don't need no more preaching after the service. That makes sense? And I'm saying this because this needs to stop. It really does. You can't take the splendor out of someone else's eye until you take the log out of your own. And if you have fear, and if you have doubt, if you have anger, if you are an emotional person, if you worry, if you are into things and people and places, you don't have anything, no love to be sharing with no one. You don't have no preaching to be sharing with no one. It's really time to just shut up and just welcome the people, whether you're at a church with the scriptures and you quote scriptures, or you being still and knowing, and all you've done is learn what? Nothing. And yet you pounce on people. How come you don't know that that's wrong? I mean, I know why. You just don't know I guess you just don't know yourself. You don't know you. And you don't see that, I've learned all this stuff about truth, and I'm going around just pouncing on people about it. But look at me. I'm really not free myself. Why don't I just shut up? And just be like you were before you heard of God. Remember how before you heard of God, you would say, thank you, I'm glad you came. Y'all don't remember that? I do. I want to read this letter to you, and then I hope I can read this letter, because right now, as I'm about to read, I feel kind of emotional about it, because I think this person is being kept back because of some of you in this congregation, and it's unfortunate. A sincere person really wanted to know and be helped and was attacked by folks just quoting the truth and don't know it. And you do it because you don't know yourself. And if you knew yourself, you would know that there is a time to speak and there's a time not to speak. There's a time to give folks the truth and there's a time not to. Because you will be guided by what is right instead of what you've learned. I won't give you the name of this person. And the way I got this email, Patrick is the fundraiser guy at Bond. And he sent out a notice that said, what has Bond done to help you? Or how were you helped by Bond? So we got people responding back to how they were helped by Bond. And that's how how I ended up reading this one, because they sent them to me too, and I read some of them. I haven't had a chance to read all of them yet. We got some great ones too. We really got some good ones, and some ones, different ones. Here is one that I got in response to Patrick's email. How has Bond helped, or what kind of impact has Bond had on your life, meaning the organization? It says, thank you for allowing me to give my feedback on my experience with your organization. When I first came to Bond, I was broken and physically weak, secondary to my new struggle with cancer. Prior to speaking with Jesse, I had restarted to meditate and was experiencing my prophetic, P-R-O-P-H-E-T-I-C. What's that? Prophetic. Life, dreams, and experiences. This is what made me seek out Jesse in order to make sense of what I was going through. He gave me great advice about my imagination, and in hindsight, I came to realize that was most of what I needed. In continuing to come to the Sunday and monthly meetings, I would be challenged to face myself and my ways. I always, especially in the beginning, came with an open mind and sincere heart. After some time, I started to notice some things that would not sit well with me and would speak directly to Jesse about these issues in private. This I found to be more effective than group discussion because without any group dynamics in the communication the communication was clear and better understood. Overall, my experience at Bond has been a good learning experience, some good and some not so good. The good was helping me to have a better relationship with my mother, which for many years was a major issue, and dealing with some personal issue that plagued me for a long time. The bad was many times when I opened up, I felt judged and signaled out. You know what that means? This person spoke up and they would judge and people would just jump on them. If they said something that the holy ones didn't agree with. Anybody ever seen that happen in here? As soon as someone says something that they ain't right with what you've learned, you're on them, just pouncing on them. Anybody ever done that here? I'm sorry?
I've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people intermingle their political beliefs with the Bible at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes from.
Anybody ever done this? Only one person going to admit it to? Two? Are you kind of holding your hand up? You doing like this. Look like you stretching so. Look like you yearning. I didn't know if you were, but two people have done that. Before I move on with this, don't give your name or anything, because I really want to get this out there, because people are hurting the new people who comes in, just like they hurt them in those other churches when they do that with the scriptures. Let me go. Tell me what made you do it. Right here. Francisco, come with the mic, please. Stay with us this morning. What made you do it?
Whatever you're doing it out of what you know at that moment. You don't think you're hurting someone. You think you're telling them the truth as you know it. But I started to realize as I, stayed around that may not be the truth. It just may be my truth.
Yes.
And then I started to see that we just need to step back a lot of times because...
let her hold the mic.
Because
we're going to get a handle for the mic from now on.
Because,
go ahead.
A lot of times what we think is true is not true, and we're still trying to get there, so-called get there, and we're not there yet, but we keep speaking out about what we think we know.
Yeah.
And so I saw that we were judging. I saw that we think we know something, so we're judging people just like the people who, we think they don't know. Those other people over there, the so-called Christians, we think they don't know, they don't have it, but we're doing the same thing they're doing. So that made me step back from it also.
Yes, good. And the key is what you think you know. If you think you know it, you don't know it. That's just intellectual knowledge. And we talked about that last 2 weeks, I believe, last 2 Sundays, where I realized one of the primary problems with folks today, Christians who think they know the truth, they now have the knowledge of good and evil. And so they base evil on the knowledge that they have learned about things. There's no understanding, there's no discovery at all. They now have the knowledge of good. They already had evil because we were born in sin. And now they have the knowledge of the good by studying the Bible or learning the truth. And their whole life is measured by that. And because it's measured by that, they know nothing. There's no discovery. They have no peace in their own life. They're not happy. They're angry. They're emotional. They are puffed up, and they're acting like idiots. But they don't know it because they don't know that they are measuring life on the knowledge of good. They'll measure everything based on what they've learned about good. And in the Bible it said that's what happened with Adam. The knowledge of good and evil is what really made him wrong, made him turn away from God. Because he stopped discovering God. He stopped discovering the truth, and everything was based on what he learned about truth. Just like it was based on, this is wrong, according to what I learned, this is true, and that doesn't work. And it doesn't change your spirit at all from evil to good. And that's why people don't like you when you're around. Because they can see that you haven't changed. And then you're just too dumb to see you haven't changed. Because everything is based on what you've learned. And that's why you don't stay with God either. That's why you don't stay with truth. Because once you enter into truth, there's no turn. You can't walk out of the building and then go back and party like you never learned anything. You just go right back out in the world, and now you're back into the same thing. You have not changed. You have not learned anything. You just learned about it. But you're still the same person. Your spirit has not changed. You have not been born again. I don't mean to be yelling, but it's just sad. I was talking with someone last night, and they were like, I don't feel like a Christian. I was crying out. I said, you don't feel like a Christian? No. And I'm like, well, good, because there is no feeling that comes with Christianity. No feeling that comes with it. No puff up, no. And I noticed that people who learn the truth and learn the Bible, they feel holy. They feel like a Christian. So they're out there, I don't know. But anyway, I'll get to your hands. Let me just move on with this letter so I really want to get this letter out there. Okay, the bad was many times when I would open up, I felt judged and singled out. There were times when I would be scared and felt trapped by my sins and would break down because I did not know if I was going to live or die. And one time in particular, I was laughed at and just tried my best to just be the better person. So this person broke down in a meeting, talking about their problems, and he would laugh. The person would laugh at. No one was facing or dealing with death knocking so closely as I was at the time, and that made me think twice before opening up. Another incident was a member in leadership told me I could be walking on water before I leave the building. And this, I thought, was more than odd when this person clearly did not place the same standard on himself. And I know what they're talking about. I really just understand this. That person that said that to this person in leadership position only quoted what they probably heard me or someone else say. Oh, you could be walking on water. And they're not walking on water. They got so many problems, not even funny. But they cover it up with the knowledge of good. They cover it up from themselves and from everybody else. Well, they think they cover it up from everybody else, but they're really not. And so if I say to someone in the meeting, oh, you could be walking on water before you leave here, right? They think they're going to be coming from the same place I'm coming from when they say it. Not understanding what I mean at all. But it sounds good to hear me say it. They're not doing it. They got issues. They're still angry and emotional and out of control. But they'll throw that out there on a poor soul like that. Not guided by God in doing it. Just do it because it sounds cute to do. Isn't that sad? Or just me? Let me finish. I was attending bond for about 6 months at this point. And this individual, being a member, have been in attendance for over a decade or two. I point these things out first because you asked, and second, that I hope that the organization can gain an understanding in areas where they may be more effective. Helping people with serious complications understanding not only that they are challenged correctly, but more importantly with love. And that's what most don't have, which is the greatest exchange a human being can have with another human being or group. Sincerely, blah, blah, blah. Now, when I read this letter, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And I'm glad that this person wrote this letter because I've been hearing things like this from people who come for the first time, and they'll call me like, oh, I'm not coming back because after the service I was attacked, and these people running over to me saying these things to me, and they don't know what you're talking about. They're not in a mindset to handle that kind of craziness. And that's not normal anyway. When the church service is over and people are here for the first time, you go over and just welcome them. Thank you for coming. My name is whatever. If you want to play, here's my number. You don't go over attacking people like this because you think you know something. Especially new people. People are coming in here, they are hurting. They have left those other churches because they didn't find what they were looking for. And they like me for what I say. And then you mess that up by going spoiling with your ego. It doesn't make sense to me. Even I don't talk to them when I greet them after the church is over. I don't preach to them anymore. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Please come back. I don't continue to preach at them. They had enough preaching. If they ask a question, I would ask the question. I would answer the question. But I don't continue to preach. And then you go home and do the same thing to your children. It never stops. You're still preaching. And your kids see you don't know what you're talking about, make me want to cuss. A cuss word came right here. What is this? And then your kids grew up hating you, you wonder why. Or you grew up with no friends, you wonder why. And then you say, oh, they were just judging me. They just didn't want to hear the truth. Ooh, it's so quiet in here.
That's the truth. You know, it's sometimes when you hear, and you hear it a lot, I say a person speaks their opinion and the rest of everybody that's here doesn't agree, they put that added pressure on that person.
Yes.
Not to speak again. It's like being in school, you know, you want to question the teacher and you don't do it anymore because you
Speak
get
directly to
reprimanded
him.
by the teacher. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You know,
I have seen it happen in the meeting. As soon as someone says something, everybody attack. I'm like, look, leave the person alone. Don't attack. Let that person speak. Let them be themselves. But the people who are guilty of this need to repent really fast. And I guarantee you, your lives are not well. All is not well in life. You really need to stop this. And you're doing it because you don't know yourself. And you're hurting people, you're running them off, and that's not good. That is absolutely not good. Yes. Right here.
I was just going to say that person also, they have to persevere too, because there is going to be judgment in the world and everywhere else. And, you know, you want to get to the point where God is protecting you and that you can hear all this, you can hear stuff against you and still persevere to still look for the truth.
That was my first thought. When I read this email, that was my first thought. Oh, well, they need to learn how to deal with judgment, right? But I realized, and so I just kind of left it there, just kind of let it hang. And I realized that those people knew. They don't know how. That's the problem. They don't know how to handle judgment. They don't know how to handle situations in life because their fathers and mothers have not taught them. They don't know why they're reacting and overreacting to situations. So they're coming here or to another church to find the way. And so even though I thought the same thing, I realized if they could do better, they would be doing it. And I noticed that the people who attack them can't even handle things themselves. And so, so it's easy to say, well, not put you down because I had the same thought. Well, that person should learn how to deal with stuff. And that's how those attackers think too. Well, you should learn how to deal with it. When you're not really dealing with things yourself. You're still overreacting with the knowledge of good. You take things personally. And so why would we expect someone who has not heard what you heard to be able to handle it when they don't know? They just don't know. When the people who are attacking can quote the truth until the cows come home, but correct them on something or say something to them in public that make them feel embarrassed, they go off on you. Yes?
I think both things need to work together. What you're saying needs to be said. And then hopefully they'll persevere too to find truth is what I'm saying, because
Right, but
they
if
are
you
gonna
give
have
them
to deal
time
with-
to grow in it, they
Right.
will get there.
That's what I'm saying. They both things need to be said,
Yes,
you know.
that's right. But that was my first thought to it. I knew that was from the devil. Because you got to, just think about how God treats us. God is absolutely 100% patient with us. Never mind how foolish and crazy and out there we are. He's 100% patient. He doesn't say, well, you need to be understanding. You need to learn how to handle it. You know, and as children of God, that's how we need to treat one another. We can't help but treat one another that way if we are truly born again and children of God. Our nature is that, and we have no other way but to be that way.